Hi, welcome back to part 2 of Ref Lounge. Okay, we're going to start with a little bit of controversy on this particular part. Now, this is the Southampton-Watford game, and it was officiated by Michael Oliver. And on this particular game, Watford had a goal against it at 1-0. Watford are winning 1-0, and there's a handball which leads to an equalising goal. Now, the official line is the footage that we've all got that confirms it wasn't available at the time. That can't happen because my worry here, okay, is I know at the end of the day, if we all go down to the balance of thing, attackers miss shots and goals and everything else, defenders miss tackles that lead to goals. So if it's one mistake but on the pitch, you can't really blame them. But you can when it's VAR, because VAR's not there to make mistakes. The humans are, but not VAR. Now, this is the third big decision at a crucial time in a game.
Absolutely. I mean, when we look at that handball, we see it on replay. The player stooped down and patted it forward.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's horrendous, really.
Yeah.
And therefore, the first line is, how does an experienced referee miss that?
Yeah.
Right? Where's the assistant referee? Because he might have got a better view.
Yeah.
And then we've got VAR. What are they looking at? And for me, they've missed what is a very clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
And a very clear and obvious handball.
It's cost a man a job.
Well, I think Watford have had some pretty awful decisions against them.
Yeah.
I think this is probably I'm probably around 4 or 5.
Yeah.
At this moment in time in the season. Mike Riley will say this is the one.
Yeah.
His usual comment. But in reality, I feel rather sad for Watford not getting the rub of the green.
Yeah,
it actually means that we've got to review, and hopefully the PGMOL are reviewing as to why that was missed.
Yeah.
And they should get the footage. There's 22 cameras at a Premier League game, so they ought to have the footage. And we shouldn't be put under pressure with the rush, because the aim of VAR is to get the right call.
And I think that the problem with the time was in some of the decisions that we've had up to a couple of weeks ago were taking forever when people knew like that what the answer was. So now we're rushing when there's certain decisions, such as that one, that might have took a little bit longer, and all it was down to was one thing, and it was the correct camera angle. Because as soon as we all saw that camera angle, we knew. Because you didn't see it from behind, you couldn't see it from behind, but as soon as they brought it to truthfully referee side, it was there, and that was it. So that was a particular one. The other game, I'm going to go into the Liverpool and Brighton one, because there's a huge debate now regards Brighton's goal. Should it have been allowed or not? What's your view on it?
Well, what we had the wall formed.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm happy that a wall was formed, and when you look at it, there's 4 in the wall. So the law is then clear that the attacking team have to be a yard away. And for me, at the point of impact of the ball, they were less than a yard.
Yeah.
Therefore, the goal should not have been allowed. That's my view.
Yeah.
Because I think that we've got a law, it's a new law, we have to enforce it. We have to be aware of that law. And for me, you might have done a bit of pre-management. I would discuss this with the referee and say, look, before you signal for that kick to be taken, you could have intervened. You could have said...
I mean, this was Martin Atkinson, who's had a great season, and truthfully had a fantastic game again. It was just this query. Now, I've seen the footage where the Brighton player is actually next to the wall, so I've seen that footage, but I managed to get a still, so bear with me. So I got a still just before we've kicked, and to me that's a yard. So I'm looking at that still and I'm saying, do you know what, that's absolutely fine. The bit that I've not took in is when you do watch it, I just couldn't quite get it, that when the ball's kicked, he is already moving that way, so by the time that's kicked, that gap's another half. So therefore, that particular area on there is one of those things that I think for referees to remember this law, because we haven't seen too many offences from it.
No.
And then the big question is, so on Sunday morning, if I get this and I get the encroachment that happens, because I have agreed eventually that there is encroachment, because by the time it's kicked, he's moved, what's the restart?
Indirect free kick.
Indirect free kick.
And, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, in all set pieces, we have to rely on the referee managing. So the process is, 1, control the position of the ball. Make certain that you inform the kicker not to kick it until you signal. Now you get your yardage.
Yeah.
And if you're on the Premier League, you've got a spray can, or the Football League, and you paint the floor. In the local parks, you haven't. So what you've got to do is don't walk into the centre of the wall, walk to the side of it, right? And therefore get the wall back. And don't rush. Just get the wall back. I mean, my view was I'd always go 11 and then they'd creep forward. So now you've got all that set up, and if you've then got attacking players coming into that wall, stop them straight away. Remind them of the law. That's the proactive management side. Prevention is better than the cure, because what you've got here is you're now putting yourself under pressure, because what you should have done is awarded the indirect free kick, and then the arguments would have come.
Yeah.
But that's tough on referee, and it's unusual, because I think this is Martin's been caught out here.
Yeah, and I think the thing is on there though as well, because nobody appeals for it or anything like that,
No.
and that's a straightforward. That's knowledge of the laws of the game. That's going back to a second ball thrown in. That's going back to the encroachment on a penalty. Now we've got the wall and how close is he once it's actually been taken. So this is about knowing the laws of the game, because without the appeals, it was just one of those things. Although,
Yeah, but don't rely on your refereeing on the basis of appeals.
yeah.
You know.
But going back to this, because there were another one, and I know we don't agree on this one, was the Newcastle-Manchester City game. Okay, Chris Kavanagh officiated this one, and it was Fernandinho's second yellow, or what should have been a second yellow, people think. I was a little bit that I think that yellow would have been harsh, because I looked at it and I thought he's tried to pull out of that. He knows he's on a yellow. He's tried, but just not got there. Whereas your view is a little bit different to mine, but I'm a big fan of Chris Kavanagh, so therefore am I being a little bit biased?
No, I think you have to take this in the round. What we're trying to do is, through our programmes, we're trying to educate referees. So for me, it's a challenge worthy of a yellow card, standalone.
Yeah.
Right? In reality, at the top level, I used to say to referees, that second yellow has to be orange.
Yeah.
All right? I'm not practising a different law here.
No.
I'm actually practising how to apply the law and the logic behind your thinking. Yeah. And I think in defence of Chris Kavanagh, right, what he said or to himself is, that might be in yellow, but is it leaning towards orange? Because it's a second yellow. It's then followed by a red. And so in a sense, you just want a bit more. Now, there are people out there, like myself, who are law educators, who will go, you can't do that. Listen, when you're refereeing at the very highest level, right, one of your aims as a referee, not showing any signs of weakness or any lack of courage, is to try and keep 22 players on.
Yeah.
And I think this is what makes the difference between elite referees at the very top. So, whilst that argue in law, and that's the point I'm making, that this was a reckless challenge worthy of a second yellow, right? I fully understand, and if I was Chris Kavanagh's boss, I'd be patting him on the shoulder and say, I'm with you.
Yeah, on that particular.
But that's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, because he was. I mean, I know we'll debate on that one. As far as it goes, but I also wanted to just look briefly at the West Ham, because there was the disallowed goal for the Antonio. That's another one where VAR comes in, because it's a handball leading to a goal, and for me that's why VAR is here.
Correct.
Because you've got an assistant, no chance. You've got a referee, no chance of spotting it at all. That's where the human being of us comes in there, and that's where VAR's got to come in, and that correctly comes in on that one. And that I thought to myself, if you're ever going to say why VAR's here, it's that one.
I agree with you 100%. And looking over the last 2 weeks, it's settling down, isn't it?
Yeah.
The referees, albeit that I've said that they've had practice for over a year, I think that they're beginning to mature a bit and not jump in, and perhaps they haven't got someone looking over the shoulder, or the fear factor. They're gaining a bit of confidence. Act VAR. If you're sat in that VAR chair, be the referee. Would you want that VAR to come in on this one? And it's interesting because I think the appointments of the VARs have been carefully monitored now, and I think that's how it has to be. How does the VARs operate? What's the relationship between the VAR and the referee? And it's beginning to grow. So there are positive signs. I'm for VAR, and I think this is the second weekend on the bounce where I think generally we've not been overly critical of VAR and how it's operated.
No, which is really good. So that's the end of this week's show. If you've got anything, feel free to tweet us. We'll be more than happy to respond to anything that we see online. But I have got one last thing. Who's your 5th top referee? Because Luke on Twitter, you said we have about 5 top referees at the moment. I added Anthony Taylor to the list that he actually thought. Who's the 5th?
Well, when we look at it, we've got Martin Atkinson who's in form. Oliver will always be there.
Yeah.
Taylor for sure.
Yeah.
Then we begin.
You said Mike Dean.
Yeah. Well, Mike Dean's the man.
Yeah.
And then the 5th. Well, I'd really like it to be Craig Pawson and or Chris Kavanagh.
Yeah.
Now, when I look at Craig, I've been critical. I continue to be critical. If he could just put some of the dynamic runs that we saw from Lee Mason into his game, I think he would enhance his overall authority that much better.
And I think he's there because I've watched the Manchester United Villa game yesterday, and there was a couple of occasions where either team, because it was counter-attacking, they were both at it, and he was keeping up, and he was keeping up good. So I think he's going to prove you wrong on that one nicely.
Well, if he proves me wrong, as a Sheffield guy, with a history of top-class referees coming from this city, and make no mistake, he's the flag bearer for Sheffield referees. We're all for him. People have a bit of a go at me because I'm critical of him. I'm critical of him in a coaching, mentoring
because
sense.
He is that good.
Because his decision making is without question. He's probably in the top 3 in terms of his quality of decision making. But we have to sell the decisions, and I think sometimes his exposure is that detachment from play that doesn't help. But if you take his man management style, he's relaxed, he's calm, and there are many positives in that sense to his armament. So, I have a go because I'm measuring him against people in terms of running and dynamics, against people like Uriah Rennie.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really, really good. So there you go. That's the 5th. And all I'll say is join us next week. Thank you.